part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Vizquel today, 2 for 4, 2 singles. Sexton at third. Cabrera at second. Lofton at first. Nobody sitting down at Jacobs Field. The 2-1 delivery. Swung on and drilled to deep right center. Away back. Gone!
Not going, and a drive toward the right field corner. Big trouble if it's fair, which it is. Lofton loses his helmet as he speeds around third. Vizquel wants a triple as Lofton scores, and Omar is in there.
And on the handle, Vizquel, so slick, will get to his feet and throw out Girardi. None better at that position with the glove.
And the highest fielding percentage.
Welcome, everyone, to Sabol Brothers on the Baseline podcast. I'm your host, Scott Sabol.
And I'm John Sabol. How are you guys doing?
So this man we're talking to here, this former baseball player, you know him if you are an Indians fan from the 90s. All right, he's a 3-time All-Star, 11-time Gold Glove winner, shortstop for the Cleveland Indians for, I believe, 11 seasons. Man. Came from Seattle. Joining us is Omar Vizquel. Omar, it is a pleasure to have you on. How are you?
Hello, guys. How you doing? I'm glad to be here with you guys talking about baseball. Part of the things that we're doing now in my life, I live in Houston, Texas now, and, trying to stay connected with all the activities that we do in the fields and everything else.
So, yeah, Omar, what are you doing now down there in Texas?
Well, I moved a couple years ago. I find a person that conquered my heart. And, I move over here in this area, and we're trying to stay connected with different schools and academies and trying to teach the little kids the baseball fundamentals, the best fundamentals of the game. And it has been good, a new community and a lot of new friends that I made and, doing a lot of baseball clinics and different things that, make me stay busy in baseball.
Well, before we get to the details on that and what you've been doing, let's go back. Let's go back to your growing up. I know you were known for your tremendous defense and your offense as well, but defense, just having soft hands. Growing up, what did you do? Were there any exercises, just a technique that someone taught you to have those soft hands?
I think that when you grow up in this baseball field in Venezuela, there is a lot of rough fields that have a lot of rocks and stuff like that. So the ball bounce in very irregular ways, and you kind of like create an intuition about bad hops and stuff like that. And I think that's why my hands were the way they were. Coming to America, then you start playing in these fields that are very flat and beautiful. And I think everything become easier when you come to these fields. So there weren't really drills that I did when I was a kid in order for me to get better. But obviously, you start training with different guys that give you these different drills of bouncing the ball off the walls and moving your feet and fielding the ball with the two hands. And I think that really helped me out to develop my fundamentals on fielding.
When you look back at your time in Venezuela before coming to the States, was there a particular player that you grew up trying to emulate or a role model? Somebody maybe on the baseball field, maybe somebody off that you just really, grew with or grew wanting to be like?
Yeah, sure. I was following David Concepcion from the Cincinnati Reds at the time. He was one of the Venezuelan guys that came to the big leagues, and he was big in Venezuela, and that's what I wore number 13 for a long time, because he was my hero. And he represented that figure that I wanted to emulate in the future. And then when I make it to the big league, David Concepcion and I became good friends. He was on his way out in the big league, obviously. But the fact that I met him and we talk about defense and everything else, it just made me, it motivated me a lot. My father also was a big following of David Concepcion, and we created this friendship and helped me out to become a better player.
You played 5 years in Seattle, late 80s, early 90s. Talk about that. Talk about going from Venezuela. Now you're playing in the Pacific Northwest at the major league level.
Yeah, it was a strange feeling because I thought, coming to America was going to be like in a big city and everything. And when I came to the little leagues, obviously you find yourself playing in little towns. I play in Billingham. I play in Wausau, Wisconsin. I play in Salinas, California. I never really hit a big city until you get to the big leagues. But once you make it there, it's just a different atmosphere because, just going into a kingdom in Seattle and seeing the whole baseball field and seeing 40,000 people in there is just a different feeling. So you have to prepare mentally to face that challenge. And I think you have to really face pressure for first time, and just talking to friends and talking to the veteran guys that were in the team give you a better perspective what it was going to be like to be in the big leagues.
I was going to say, so you were traded from Seattle to Cleveland, right about that time. So late 93, early 1994, the Indians were just an up and coming team, and they were a team that really hadn't proven themselves. In retrospect, we can go back and go, oh yeah, we see that player, and that was the seeds were already planted in that fertile field. But at that time, we didn't know that the Indians would become what it was. What were your feelings when you were traded to Cleveland back then?
Well, I was a little hurt because I was in Seattle. That was my only organization that I played for in my career. I played 10 years there. And then I had to go to Cleveland, and, it was going to be a tough move. But, getting into the clubhouse and spring training and seeing guys like Kenny Lofton and Carlos Baerga and Alvaro Espinosa, Wayne Kirby, Dennis Martinez, I knew there was something special that was kind of growing in there. Moving into a new ballpark, at the time it was called the Jacob Field. And I think that when we got there, it was a different feeling. You got so many, your chemistry in the clubhouse was so big, and the guys were already getting along, and we were playing some good baseball, and I knew there was something special going in there. And it was too bad that year came the strike and we couldn't really finish what we started. But we knew that we had a great team. And in 95, we can show it to everybody. We were the champions of the American League, and we end up going to the World Series.
Let's go to that World Series 95. We just had your old manager, Mike Hargrove, on the podcast back in August. We sat down with him at a pregame before a Guardians game, and we talked about the World Series. And I've talked with him a few other different times doing stories for Fox 8. And, I mentioned about that 95 World Series, about that infamous strike zone.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on just how that was called during that series.
Well, you have guys, with Maddox and Smolt and Glavine that they were just master or hitting that low strike zone, and and then it's trying to expand it, and the umpires really bite on that, and I think that we were victims of that strike zone. But there were some great pitchers. You can't take any bad credit about them. They were awesome. They know how to pitch, and they make their pitches all the time. I think when you show that you can dominate the strike zone that way, the umpires kind of lean in that direction, and they were master in that. They were really good.
Yeah, they were painting outside corners, inside corners. It seemed like it really shrunk, when it came to them, and then expanded when you guys were batting. But, Grover, as well as other guys I've talked, like Kenny Lofton, I've talked with, they all say, oh, that's not why you guys lost that World Series. They were just a dominant team. But I think it played a role. I think it's safe to say. It's from an outsider's perspective, watching that, I think it played a role.
Yeah, a little bit. It put a lot of pressure on the hitters because sometimes it's not the same hitting with the count 2-0, the hitting with the count 0-2, obviously, and that changed a little bit of your feeling at the plate. Even though you want to be aggressive, these guys knew how to get you off balance.
So take us, we got 95 World Series, then you go to 96, didn't make it to the World Series, and then 97. You had that 3-year stretch there, really longer than that. You go to 1998. But what was the general feeling like for those 3 or 4 years? As a fan for us, we were into a period where it just didn't seem like that was going to end. Were you guys just riding that high all the way through those 3 or 4 years? What was your feeling like, and what was the confidence level like after the 95, 96 going into 97?
It was great. I thought in 97 we were going to be the winners because we already lived the experience of being in the World Series, and most of the players that were there were on that 97 World Series. We felt like we have a great team to win it all. And, sometimes it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't matter how good of a team you have. It's just how good you play in those particular 7 games. And, we were lucky enough to play 6 games and 7 games in the World Series. And it was an amazing time. And I think it teaches a lot as ball players how much 1 out or 1 pitch means in this kind of series. And I think it was one of the most amazing time as a baseball player in your career, just being in the World Series and represent Cleveland at that time.
I know, looking back at those times, I mean, like my brother Scott just said, it felt like that time would never end. It seemed like you can never take anything for granted. But Omar, you guys were still so dominant in 98, 99. And then everything kind of changed a little bit when the turn of the century, so to speak, in 2000, 2001, even though you guys won the division, went back to the playoffs in 01. Changing of the guard a little bit. The eras tried to changed a little bit. And then you guys went into you're part of the rebuilding process there for a few years. That had been odd for you to be a part of, being a member of that nucleus of those 90s teams, and then early 2000s, everything kind of flipped upside down.
Yeah, I mean, how guys get out of contracts and they don't have the long terms anymore, and they become free agents, and some of the key pieces of the team start leaving and going to different directions. Some of the guys they traded. So you always, as a front office, you try to find a balance between your budget and the kind of team that you're putting together. And I think that's what they were doing. The guys are getting old. There is new guys coming in and a stronger and better fit for the team. And, you got to adjust to that kind of thing. At the end of 2001, I was one of the last guys of that 90s team. And obviously, I think it was my time to go. They have a young guy named Johnny Peralta coming behind me. He was being the MVP on the AAA and, having some great years. And they start moving pieces and building a different team at that time. And I'm glad that I was we were fortunate to be on that team on the 90s, because there were so many stars and so many great people there that you miss.
Do you have any it's okay. Do you have any clubhouse stories that you can share with us? Something that, is a family-friendly story, anything that kind of stands out in your mind from hanging out with the guys in the clubhouse during those times?
Well, as you know, I put out a book in 97 about the World Series, and I have a little bit of problem with Jose Mesa. He's still a little hurt about the things that I said. But Jose was a really good friend of mine. We used to hang out in our house. I used to go to his place and eat there all the time. It was too bad that just when the book came out, I say something that really hurt his feeling. And, I haven't really had the chance to speak with him. I don't think he wants to talk to me too much about that problem. But, as far as I'm concerned, it was just something that came in the World Series in Game 7. And, I didn't really mean to hurt anybody, but it was the atmosphere that we were living. And, stories are thousands of stories. I mean, we always hang out together. We celebrate birthday together, the birthday from our kids, piñatas. And, we were always hanging out one way or another. And it was just too bad that we have that problem. But yeah, I mean, these guys still get it in touch with each other. We're still talking, with Kenny and Nagy and all those guys that were on that team. So we were just like a family, and it's just sadly that at the end of 2000, everybody kind of like split up and went to other teams.
It's the nature of the business, I guess you could say there. And at time, back to Jose real quick. Ever since that book, Omar, you haven't talked with him since 97?
No, I haven't really had the opportunity to see him, face to face. I know that, I've been saying in some radio station and in interviews that, I didn't mean to hurt his feeling. It was just something part of the game. But I have no grudge with Jose. He's a great guy.
I know when we talk, we ask, former Indians players like clubhouse stories. Just for an example, Charles Nagy, we had him in the pod. He told us that Oral Hershiser was just phenomenal at ping pong. Like he'd take off his shower shoe and still beat you in ping pong. Brian Anderson would tell us Albert Bell stories, which we have heard since then. The Mr. Freeze story with a thermostat. Obviously, the cork bat incident in Comiskey Park in 93, 94. Any fun little tidbit stories like that you can think of?
Quirky things.
No pun intended about the bat quirky, but silly stuff.
Well, on the airplane, we would always play cards in the back of the plane, and guys always get mad because something happened. They were trying to cheat and stuff like that, and we always end up with fights. And Hargrove always have to come in the back and kind of calm everybody down because people were getting really heated up about card games and stuff. So yeah, I mean, every day was something different. When you're winning, you're having fun. You always think that you are over everybody. You got this confidence level that is higher in everybody. We always knew that we were gonna kick somebody's ass at the end of the day in the baseball field. So that gives you a lot of power to do whatever you want.
When we talk about the 95 World Series, I know the 25th anniversary, or it was 26 years ago, I guess you could say now, that the 97 one happened. Last year, I did a two-part series for Fox 8 of the anniversary of it. And, I've talked with your old teammates, Paul Ossenmacher and Chad OJ, Sandy Alomar. And when I asked Sandy about that Edgar Renteria hit that just went right over the glove of Charles Nagy, and we've talked with Charlie about that too. Sandy described it like this: the ball looked like, Omar, that it was in slow motion off the bat. Yes. And you were right there on the field. What do you remember about that tough, heartbreaking play?
Well, there is no doubt that that's one of the most breaking hits that I experienced, because obviously we lost the World Series in there. And like Sandy described it exactly, it was like the ball was never going to fall. And you can see the ball. I mean, I can see it. And I say, oh, I'm going to catch it. And then all of a sudden you see the ball in center field. And, it was so far out of reach of mine. But at the same time, I see it so close. And it was really painful. And, you see the guy running the bases and score the winning run. And all you have to do is just look up and look at the fans and see everybody jumping into the field. It was really a pain, and like a knife going through your heart.
Did you ever think you'd get back there, or did you think, oh, you know what, we lost another one, we'll get back there next year, the year after?
Yeah, but you don't want to think right at that moment about next year. You play so hard and you sacrifice everything to get to that moment that you don't really want to think about anything else except that game, except that pitch, except that particular moment. Because it takes another 8 months to get to the World Series again. It's like we're watching the World Series nowadays, and you see guys like the Phillies and the Astros that has been eliminated, and probably they're thinking, oh, we have a chance next year. Yeah, we do, but you don't know how things are gonna develop just to get there again. It's just really hard.
You played over 20 years. Do you remember any specific at-bats during your 20-year career that stand out in your head? I know you played a long time, but, of all the at-bats, are there a few that stand out that maybe you replay in your mind? It could have been something in Seattle, something in San Francisco, Cleveland, that you replay in your head that just stand out.
It's funny you asked me that because yesterday I was going through my CDs and I start playing CDs from the old days and seeing some all at bats against guys that probably dead right now. And I saw I saw my first home run of Jimmy Key in Seattle. I saw a base hit that I hit against Nolan Ryan to win a game in Seattle also. And there is a hit that I don't know if you guys remember this game that we were losing 12-0 against the Seattle Mariners in Cleveland.
01.
And 12-1.
Or
And then
2001 that happened, right?
I don't remember the date, but the fact was that I hit a triple with the bases loaded to tie the game, and we scored 12 runs coming from behind. Gene Tomey hit a couple home runs, and Joel Cabrera was the one that scored the winning run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were some crazy at bats that you always stick in your mind. And I think that was one of the most memories for me, because at that time, my son, Nico, he was 5 years old, and it was the first time that he was a bad boy for the Cleveland Indians. So it was a really special moment for me.
Yeah, that was 2001. That's
2001.
I remember that.
Yes.
I remember that game, watching it from the couch. You guys went down 12-0 or something. My dad got so mad he left at the fourth inning from the couch to go to bed. Scott, you were working, I think, in West Virginia.
I was working
in television in West Virginia. You guys came back and won. I ran upstairs, opened the door, woke up my mom and dad. They about jumped out of bed screaming, thinking something happened. I scared the living crap out of them.
Yes.
And my dad's like, "You got to be kidding me. They won that game." And it was just a fun.
I remember watching that the next morning, all the highlights, and my boss came in. He goes, "What are you watching TV for?" I go, "Look at this game. That's a game you'll never see again."
Yeah, we remember that we went through a period of time where we sold out every game.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that game was sold out. I think it was 43,000 people. And then in the seventh inning, we have 7,000 people. And then by the ninth inning, we have 4,000 people. But 4,000 people sounded like there were 40,000 people on that day. So it was crazy. Yeah, it was one of the most exciting games we played there.
It was crazy to think about. You did it against your former team, and then your former team, 2 months later, beat you guys in the division series that year, which
that's right.
Seattle was a phenomenal. Was that the year, Scott, they had 111 wins, something like that?
He might have been, yeah. Something like, 2000.
Something like that. They had a really good year. Mm-hmm.
Omar, you played 24 years until you're 45 in 2012 against when you were with Toronto. You eclipsed 2,877 hits. Is there a part of you bummed that you didn't get the 3,000 hits?
Yeah, I always think about that, but I had a really fortunate career. Only was in the DL twice. I have knee problems on double plays that were broken. Maybe if I would have been in this age in baseball, I would never have hurt turning a double play. But I was out for 3 months in one, and then 2 months in the other one. And I think that was the difference between me getting 3,000 or not. I was fortunate to play a long time. Never thought that I was going to get close to get 3,000 hits, because my strength wasn't really the hitting. My strength was the fielding, obviously. But I really learn and adjust to different things and different lineups for me to get hits. And it was good. It was a great career. I always said when I talking about my offense, I learned to switch hit when I was 20 years old.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was hard, very hard to kind of go and learn basically to switch hitting when you are in the big league. Obviously, you do that process when you are in the little leagues. But when I got called up to the big leagues, I was kind of learning still to hit left-handed.
All right, if you're looking for a perfect holiday gift for this holiday season, look no further than the Columbus-based company Homage. We've teamed up with them here on the podcast to bring you some great products. They were nice enough, Scott, to send us some shirts.
Yeah, and I love the shirt I got. It's a Cleveland Guardians, and it's really cool. I mean, it fits well. You know, some of the shirts you always find a shirt that maybe just doesn't fit right. These fit perfect. and they allow you to breathe too, because I'm a guy who gets kind of hot, and these are the shirts that you want to wear, especially when you're working, say, in the office in the middle of the winter time when it might get a little warm, somebody turns up the thermostat, or if you want to wear outside on a nice day like today when it's 50 degrees. Just perfect shirt, nice and comfortable.
Yeah, high quality shirts. I've had some Ohio State shirts. They sent me a Cavs one that's really cool.
Yep.
The old Cavs, a gold font from the 70s style on there. They've got NBA, MLB, college, NFL, a lot of cool, comic book style shirts, hand-drawn designs, great quality from our friends over at Homage. So if you're looking for a holiday gift, go ahead to homage.com. Go in our show notes here, wherever you're listening to your podcast, whether it's on Spotify or Apple. Click the episode here and then use that link in the show notes that we're providing you to go ahead and purchase your latest Homage gear. They just not only just have the shirts, but they've got cool sweatpants, sweatshirts, really, really cool stuff as well. One of my favorites ones, Scott, you always comment on it when I wear it, is that Cavs NBA Jam shirt that has the, stats of Mark Price and Brad Daugherty.
Love that. I remember that. We used to play NBA Jam all the time in the basement. So this brings back a lot of good memories, a lot of good retro stuff too. Love it.
Yeah, they've expanded that now to the NFL Jam and MLB Jam too. So a lot of cool stuff there with our friends from Homage, based out in Columbus. Purchase them at homage.com, but go on our show notes and click that link there to get your latest and greatest Homage merchandise that will provide a perfect holiday gift this holiday season.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
What's up, everyone? Chase Smith here, host of the Chase Smith podcast, and my podcast reflects who I am. My hobbies, my interests, my passions, my curiosities, my careers, my questions, and my family. I'll spend time talking about all types of sports, movies, TV shows, trending news stories, and other cultural events, and even faith. This is who I am, and I hope I can get to know you as well. Join me on the Chase Smith podcast, and let's have some thought-provoking conversations, only on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hi, everybody. It's John Tellage from the Guardians of the Land MLB podcast. Be sure to hop on with us to follow all the dramatic developments of the reigning American League Central Division champions. From game analysis to interviews to keeping tabs on who could be the next breakout star. We'll have that and much, much more right here. It's the Guardians of the Land MLB podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. Subscribe here and join the fun. Bouncing ball toward the hole. Vizquel stops it. Throws from the outfield grass. What a play!
Well, we talked about how good a defensive team these Cleveland Indians are, and he won Gold Gloves. You don't win Gold Gloves if you can't make the great plays under pressure. And this saves 2 runs, not 1, and he completes the inning.
A swing and a high drive into fairly deep right. Ordonez back on the track, at the wall. This ball gone. A game winner, Omar Vizquel. And here comes the Indians bench to celebrate at home plate. A towering drive to right. Omar Vizquel delivers a game winner, slides into home plate, and now is getting pummeled. 1-1 to lead. A swing and a little jam job, shallow left. It is dropping. Vizquel out, diving catch. Omar Vizquel with a diving catch and left with his back to home plate.
Once you hit about 40, 41, because right now I'm going to be 50 next year, and I stopped playing baseball in my late 30s, in summer league. And one of the things with me is my eyesight started going. How were your eyes when you made it into your early 40s?
Well, I experienced a little bit of problem like blurry visions and stuff like that when I was like around 42. But that really didn't affect the way of playing. I thought that I have great eye vision, and I always check my eyes every year. And when you go through these tests, when you go to spring training, I never have any problem. The doctors never mentioned any problem at all. I have a 20/20 vision and all this stuff. But I think what is really start to affecting you are the legs, you know, the knees, playing in turf and playing in these fields. I think it really start, especially when you have surgery. I have surgery in both of my knees, and that's when it start really affecting the way that I move around the field.
Omar, you've got the stats and the numbers and the longevity, which is an impressive career numbers. Do you fully think at your 24-year career and what you've been able to do on the field? Like to me, and my brother will agree that those are Hall of Fame numbers and Hall of Fame accomplishments. Do you firmly believe you should be in Cooperstown at some point?
I think it's great when they compare me to some of the people that are already in Cooperstown, and my numbers kind of match, their numbers. So there is a good opportunity for me to be part of the Hall of Fame someday. But I have a couple of problems off the field that maybe that's holding me on right now. And, I'm glad that those problems are behind me. I learned a lot from it. And, I'm very happy that I don't have to think about that anymore. And I think with the time, people is going to really think and take a look at this and say, well, he really deserves to be there because his numbers are comparable to some of the guys that are already there. And, maybe someday I'll be there.
One of your other passions is your artwork and your paintings. I saw some of your recent posts on Twitter on some of the work that you've done. Explain the history behind that. Did you always paint? Were you always involved with art when you were in your playing days, or is it something that you kind of found to be, therapeutic, so to speak, after your playing days?
Well, I was always involved with art. I love drawing and painting, but the year of the strike, it was when it really exploded. We didn't have to do much in the house, but wait for baseball to kind of start again. And I went to one of these stores where they sell paints and canvases and stuff like that. And I started buying a bunch of stuff, and I started reading books. I started contact some of my friends that were doing art to see how do you start the process and all this stuff, because it involved a lot of different things. I thought that painting was easy. You get a couple of paint brushes and you start doing paint, but it takes a process also, and it takes time. And I think the picture that you saw on the Twitter was a result of years of painting. Those paintings I have been working on those paintings for about 3 or 4 years. And finally, I can say that I have enough painting to show the people, and kind of like I'm planning. We're putting together a show that is going to show a lot of baseball stuff and stuff that I did during those years. And I'm really looking forward for that, because it's something different that occupied my mind. Even when I was playing on my playing days and I was struggling a little bit, this is what really got me out of the focus and the frustration that I had on baseball.
I know after your playing career ended, you did some coaching. You coached first base. You did stuff in the minors, and I think you coached for the Tigers, right? Blue Jays a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Is being a baseball manager still a dream of yours down the road? Is that still something you want to do, or because I know for a while there you wanted to do that?
Yeah, I love it. I went to Detroit. I coached 4 years there in the big league, and then I went to the White Sox and managed for 2 years in minor leagues, and I love it. I love the process. I love the fact that you have to run a team and 25 guys, and there are different areas that you have to really go into and listen to the pitching coach and listen to the other outfield coach. So that's what it's all about. Everything that you learn in baseball, now you get to apply it in a baseball field, in a clubhouse, and kind of be the leader of the guys and show what really got you to that point of being a big leaguer. So I felt very proud for that process, and I think that's something that I want to do when I get back to baseball again.
You follow the Guardians now, and if so, what's your opinion on the team, and what do you think the outlook is for this team going forward over the next couple of years?
It's great. It's looking amazing. You take a look at a team that has been rebuilding, and they have a lot of young guys that have talent. Last year was a year when people got surprised how the Guardians got to the playoff. I don't think they were expecting that the team getting as far as they did, and they were just this close to beat the Yankees on a great series of 5 games, and too bad they couldn't advance. But yeah, the team has always got an special vibe going around them. I think that every time that I visit the Guardians ballpark, it's like magic, man. And I think about those memories, and I think about all the great moments that we had there, and I can see the resemblance of those young teams becoming great again and dominate for a long time. So it's gonna be fun in the years to come.
In your playing career, I mean, a lot of people would agree that when you played alongside Robbie Alomar for those 3 years, you guys arguably had one of the best double play tandems in the history of baseball that rivaled the Tigers with was it Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell?
Yep, correct.
Yeah. When you look back at that, it's got to be amazing to think that you played with Robbie like that. But do you think that you two were the best?
Yeah, I think that we were doing things on the field that other guys were not doing. And, you have a guy that improvised a lot in Robbie. And I think myself was the same. You find two guys that did different things. They flip glove. They flip balls with their glove and behind your back and stuff like that. You find two guys that can do that. You're going to see a great combination. And he ended up Robin being a Hall of Famer, and just turning double plays with him, it was a pleasure. It was so good because sometimes we didn't really have to talk too much. We were just flipping balls right and left, and the combination was so secure, so sure that we were gonna turn two outs, that it was amazing to see. It was rare when you see fans giving a standing ovation for defense, but we got a couple of those.
So after your playing days, I'm sure, in the 90s with all those big years and fun years that we had, there was the chance of maybe getting some memorabilia from your playing days. Do you have anything? Do you have any memorabilia from your playing days? And if so, can you share anything, jersey, ball, or is it something you don't do?
If I can just turn my screen over and you can see what I have over here, everything, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but you can see like pictures and you can see things. You can see glove and a lot of these memorabilia. I got this is my office here, and everything is about baseball and about, Cleveland and about.
Oh, check that out. Look at those gold gloves.
That's pretty slick. There, and yeah, but I am in a laptop, so I cannot move it. But yeah, of course, man, I got all this memorabilia with me. This is the room when I bring my friends, and we talk about baseball and we remember all those great times. But obviously, you keep a lot of things. I have like Kenny Lofton's memorabilia, Manny Ramirez shirts, Sandy Alomar sketching gear. You have all that stuff in a little cave room, like you call it. And it's awesome because it keep you, it keep you humble. It keep you remember all these great teammates and stuff that you live with.
I was gonna say, my brother talked to Manny Ramirez a couple of months ago, and he's always itching to hit. And I remember you asked him, of 10 pitches, how many would you hit out? What did he like now? And he said, yeah, I could hit 3 or 4 out.
And I said, you're being too modest. You could probably hit more than that. And he just started laughing. And I mean, that was one guy one of the best hitters of our generation.
The good Lord put him on this earth to hit a baseball.
But yeah, Omar, exactly. I mean, could you still hit too?
No, but I can feel ground balls.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, were those 11 gold gloves, but they're right there in your office. That's beautiful.
Yeah, they're right here. They're right here with me. People come here and take pictures with. It's kind of fun to see everybody's like, oh my God, that's a gold glove. That's crazy. You have 10 here. So, those are like conversation pieces. You sit down and you try to describe what it's like to get to earn a Gold Glove. But yeah, I think everybody have a little room like this in their house.
Before we let you go, a couple more questions, Omar. I got to ask you about Albert Bell. AB is a polarizing figure, I think. He still actively, talks with, it's funny, he still talks to Cleveland media here on, like, he calls into sports radio talk show here in Cleveland. I don't know if you're aware of that or not.
Really? That's good.
Yeah, he calls in. He's a big fantasy football guy. He's very critical of the baseball today, of the new rules and all that stuff. But do you have a great Albert Bell story? And do you still talk with Albert? I know you still talk with Sandy and Kenny and those guys, but when it comes to AB, any good stories? And do you talk with him?
Well, I think everybody have stories about Albert. He's a different guy, obviously, very, very strict and very go down to the point. Every time that he have an opportunity to talk about baseball, he does. But when it comes down to his routine, nobody can break it. And sometimes he get mad with people when they're not there at the time that he really wanted to. For example, he wanted to do soft toss with somebody. He had to be there one particular time all the time. Whenever the game is over, he doesn't like talking to anybody, or he wants to be by himself. And yes, the freezing story about hitting the thermostat because he liked the clubhouse very cold. He doesn't like his bats to touch anybody else's bat. He wanted to have his own bat bag. And yeah, Albert was a different guy, man. Sometimes I think the only guy that I saw that could contain Albert was Eddie Murray, because Eddie Murray was kind of like our father figure in those years. And he was the only one that kind of like faced Albert when Albert get out of track a little bit, and he kind of correct him. So Albert was kind of like, open his eyes a little bit. But it's great. I think everybody have a tough guy like that in the team. You take a look at Bryce Harper with the Phillies. He had that intensity on his eyes, and I think that's how Albert took the game every day. And it was great just being right next to him.
Well, it was Eddie Murray, after all, in that, the infamous Fernando Vina play. That pulled in the innings before. You got to, take out that runner if you hit a ground ball, and Winfield he did the same thing and knocked him out. And he was following orders from Eddie Murray.
Yeah, I mean, that's some of the tough plays there that Albert always wanted to do. He didn't like anybody. Like when he get hit, he wanted somebody else from their team to get hit. I mean, he really played the game very hard and very competitive.
Before we go into a rapid fire segment, I got to ask you a question. Favorite all-time memory of a teammate of yours, whether it was on or off the field? Like, was there a good memory that you have of somebody? Like, I know with Robbie and with Sandy, those World Series runs were great, but anything else like that that you could think of that you were really close with during your time? It doesn't have to be with Cleveland. It could be one of other teammates. Other teams? I
think one of the best story was with the Griffith father and son combination when we all played together. Just remember a lot when my father took me to the field and teach me the game the right way. The juniors said, "Come on, Dad, get on base for me. I'm gonna bring you home." Stuff like that. Those kind of stories are always cool to tell, because it remembers how your father teach you the game and take you out to a field and hit you ground balls and stuff like that. And seeing a father and a son in the same lineup in the big league is not very, very, often that you see that. So it was beautiful.
So our segment that we do with our guests is something called rapid fire. Basically, it's they're easy questions. It could be a one-word answer. It could be half a sentence. We have a handful of them here. So I'm going to start you off with your favorite pregame meal.
I didn't have one in particular. I can eat anything.
Did you have any like pregame ritual or superstition or anything like that?
No, just getting ready for the game. I like to do some sprints in the outfield and maybe go down and hit in the cage a little bit, but nothing really serious.
Favorite visiting ballpark?
I like Baltimore, Camden Yard.
What's your favorite off-season activity? This is during your playing days.
Going to the beach and enjoy the beach, just relax, trying to enjoy the family and spend time with your kids.
During your playing days and now when you come back to visit, your favorite Cleveland restaurant or restaurants?
It was a restaurant in Little Italy that was called the Dolce Vita. Still open, and I want to say hi to the people there because they really take care of me when I go there. And also there was another one named Corso, I think. I don't know if that's still open, but it was my two favorite ones.
What is your favorite, if you had to pick one of your favorite Cleveland Indians memories?
I think going down to the wharf, right there where the flats and all that area. I know that it changed a lot, but just going down there and hanging out, it was pretty cool.
Any favorite game? You mentioned that 0-1 game and you guys came back from 12 runs down, but was there another favorite on the field memory that really sticks with you in your time in Cleveland?
Game 7 of the World Series, always the most exciting game of your life.
Do you have a favorite TV show that you're currently watching?
That I'm currently watching. No, a lot of Netflix right now, a lot of movies and stuff, but maybe Family Feud is always funny.
I feel like you'd be good at Family Feud if you ever got on there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I try to go along with the questions and stuff. So yeah, it's funny. It's a funny game.
Well, Steve Harvey, the host, is a Cleveland guy, and he went to Kent State University.
That's right.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy from The Price is Right also.
Drew Carey.
Yeah.
Your role model growing up. I know we kind of touched on this a little bit before, but just to rehash a little bit, if you had a role model growing up on or off the field.
Yeah, David Concepcion is the guy that I follow, but as an athlete, I like Muhammad Ali. He was the one that really I follow and captivated my heart and soul. Follow everything he did.
And finally, who is the toughest pitcher you faced?
Pedro Martinez. Between Pedro, Roger Clemens, those two guys were just very, very tough to hit.
That 99 year was something out of... Pedro was unhittable.
Yeah, any year. I mean, Pedro was the reason why we couldn't go to playoff and World Series because he was always on top of us. He was a great pitcher.
Was that 99 the year when he was hurt, but he came out of the bullpen and just shut the tribe down?
Might have been.
Yeah, something like that. He wasn't hurt. I think he said that he was hurt. Where we knew that he wasn't hurt because he pitched the week before.
That's right.
And then he made everybody believe that he wasn't going to pitch. And all of a sudden he went into a long reliever and won a game.
How difficult was it to face Randy Johnson? What kind of adjustments did you have to make with him?
Well, to me, I mean, I saw Randy easy because he gave me fastballs all the time. He didn't really work me as hard as all the guy. So, I hit Randy well, and that's what I say that Pedro and Roger were tougher because I didn't really hit him too well. But with Randy, I saw the ball of his hands good, and so for some particular reason, I don't know, I hit Randy well.
And last question, is there anything with the current way baseball is played that you would change?
Yeah, I think everybody have to change. Maybe you be more aggressive. Maybe, the way that the game has evolved, you have to make your adjustment too. And I think everybody knows where they're standing, in what the role is. And when you know your role, you have to go with that.
All right, last bonus question.
Okay.
I got to put you on the spot, Omar. Who is a better defensive shortstop, Omar Vizquel or Ozzie Smith?
I don't know. You always believe when you take the field that you are the best and there is nobody better than you. That's the way that you have to approach anything that you take in life, that you believe in yourself and you think you are the best. So, it's weird to say that you are the best. Oh yes, me. But at the end of the day, you have to have that attitude when you take the field.
Yeah, I would say you. I'm not just saying that, but I've been on your parade of saying that you should be in the Hall of Fame and that you're the best defensive shortstop I've ever seen. I know Ozzie was towards the end of his career when I was born. Scott, you got to see him more.
I got to see him more in the 80s and early 90s.
But,
yeah.
I feel like the numbers are comparable. And Omar, we hope one day you can get to those hollowed halls of Cooperstown. We'll be rooting for you. Thank you so much for your time. 3-time All-Star with the Indians, 11 years with Cleveland, played in baseball 24 seasons. Can you believe it? It's crazy. A fan favorite here in Cleveland, always will be. Omar Vizquel, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today here on the Sabol Brothers and the Baseline podcast.
Thank you, guys. And always a little help doesn't hurt from you guys. So thank you so much.
You can follow us on Sabol Brothers on the Baseline podcast. You can press play podcast on the website. You can follow me on Twitter, Scott Sable Fox 8.
You can follow me at John_Sable. Follow the pod on Twitter at Sabol Brothers. Be sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps out the algorithm, helps out with our distribution, and give us a good rating there. We hope you enjoyed this edition of the podcast with Omar Vizquel.
Have a great day, everybody.